A little flatter feet. At least works for me. Just it gives me something to hold on to instead of going cool. Way different than projecting from your head voice. When I went through the first time, everybody kept like, girl's voices don't work like that. Like, here, because mine would go every couple days and just beat to the ceiling and stick there and go back down. And everybody's like, those voices don't do. Mine kept doing. But right now it feels like I'm constant, dry, tired.
Good morning. It's wonderful to see you all this morning. This is a place where we gather across many differences. Differences of origin and experience, differences of lives, differences of identities, and we gather to be different together. The thing that binds us is our care for each other and care for our community. So we pride ourselves on the practice of just caring for each other. And we want to extend a special expression of care, of welcome, to two groups, particularly this morning. First, we have a group of students from a church that you can see through the trees if you look hard enough when the sermon gets really boring. From the Episcopal Church of the Advent, the confirmation class. Their youth at Glen Church brought the confirmation class here last year as part of a kind of pilgrimage throughout the city that this class takes, visiting different houses of worship, different faith communities over the course of the fall to just learn about our neighbors in the city and the different ways that we gather to express our spirituality. We want to welcome these students again this year. They're going to stay after for a long, boring conversation with Ann and with me about what's so great about this place. We are really glad that you all are here. And we have another group that we want to welcome today. Folks from a training that has been going on in the dark depths of our basement all weekend. Part of what makes our movement very special, very powerful, is a curriculum on health education and the development of our identities, including our sexual identities, called Our Whole Lives, OWL. This is a research-based, tested curriculum that is very effective and that other religious movements also share with us because of its power and effectiveness. We have 18 folks that have been with us all weekend going through one level of that training who are with us from as far away as Colorado. We want to welcome them also. Please welcome them. As people have been coming and going all weekend here with workshops and visits and just the life of the church moving on, one person coming in and out of the doors, often at ungodly hours of the morning or night, said, "I'm just so glad we can do this again." Nothing in life is simple, and these last years have not been simple. But our care shows us a way through, and we are glad to be here again together this morning. Welcome.
differences make us better, giving shape and strength to each bread we bring. Still the finest days are yet to come, as we learn to see what makes us strong. We are all bound together, woven as one. Shipping clerk and sailor and farmer, baker, fisherman, senator and soldier, all must share this fragile land. Where one thread ends, another begins, their purpose is the same. Voices join together in the planet's bold refrain. We are all bound together, woven through the tapestry of living things. And our differences make us better, giving shape and strength to each thread we bring. Still our finest days are yet to come, as we learn to see what makes us strong. We are all bound together, woven as one. We are all bound together. We are all bound together, woven as one.
Good morning, everyone. All right, y'all are live today. Hello. My name is Alan Jenkins, and I serve as president of the Board of Trustees of your Unitarian Universalist Church of Spartanburg. Welcome, members, friends, and visitors this morning, whether you're in the sanctuary or you're joining us virtually. Hey, y'all. Actually, camera's there. Hey, y'all. We are a welcoming congregation, and whether you're in the room or online, you are valued and you are loved. And now for a few important announcements. You can find these and more on the sheet titled Connect at the back of your bulletin. And take time to read it. It's like 3.5 pages. We have launched a visioning process for our congregation, and we want everyone to participate. This multi-year process will fuse all of our perspectives into a shared, aligned vision for our future. To start, we're holding a series of cottage meetings here at the church to discuss this process and begin our work together. Sign up in the lobby outside the sanctuary. One of those meetings is today after church, so if you want to, just go sign up as soon as you get out of here and go head on down. I apologize in advance to anybody who heard me say that and go, no! But get down there and take part. Get ready for our 2022 Volunteer Fair. Join us after church on Sunday, September 25th in Wild Hall. That's next weekend for heavy hors d'oeuvres provided by wonderful volunteers, and learn about the many opportunities there are to get involved at UUCS. Whether it's single-day volunteer opportunities, major initiatives, or committee work, there's something for everyone. So come out, enjoy some great food and fellowship, and learn more about the volunteer life of our church. The Social Justice Council has an update on UU the Vote. We are closing in on earning our Good Trouble Congregation Award. It's fantastic. That's right. Good work, social justice. We've gotten out over 3,000 postcards to mail to voters in swing states in October. Another way to reach out to voters is by door knocking. It's exactly what it sounds like. You personally reach out to voters by knocking on their doors and encouraging them to vote. And I can tell you from personal experience that door knocking is incredibly rewarding, and you meet some very interesting people. Sunday, September 25th, you can adopt a church neighborhood street for door hanger delivery. That's like door knocking, but you can hang a little thing on their door and spread the information that way. We invite you to deliver door hangers in our church neighborhood. Come visit the social justice booth at the September 25th Volunteer Fair after church down in Wild Hall to adopt a neighborhood street and pick out your street. We'll give you a map and a dozen or more door hangers to deliver either on the 25th or any day the following week. This is a great activity to do with your kids to show them that democracy is worth putting out effort for. Or you can pair up with another church member to have some fellowship while you stroll your street. There's also another great voting opportunity. There's a voter rally going on in downtown Spartanburg and Morgan Square from 5 p.m. to 6:30 p.m. on September 20th. That's Tuesday. There'll be music, there'll be voter registration, and voter information. This event is organized by the Spartanburg Get Out the Vote Coalition. So be sure, if you've got a few spare moments, to pop out for that too. Reclaim Our Vote postcards will also be available at the social justice booth. Help us reach the 4,000 mark. Or if you don't want to wait for the volunteer fair next Sunday, look for Ruth Stanton today. If you hear anything from the last several... She's right, Chair. If you heard anything out of what I just said, it's that voting is important. We don't care how you vote, but go vote and get it done. Do your part. Our UUCS is a place of warmth, kindness, and welcome, and that is because of you. Every time we come together, we make this world a better place. It brings me great comfort and joy to see all of you here. Thank you.
I'm going to take just a second to clarify for people who are planning to come to the cottage meeting after church today. We have it scheduled so that you have time to go to the coffee hour afterwards, and be sure to get something solid to eat because we're going to be here until 2:30. So be sure you're downstairs. Back here in the sanctuary by 1 o'clock. But go socialize and enjoy some food for a while before you join us. Thanks.
Morning. This morning's chalice lighting is from, it's okay, The Serpent is Still Alive, from the prose Edda of Snorri Sturluson. Sorry, that's my puppy. From the prose Edda of Snorri Sturluson, a compendium of Norse myths written in Iceland in the 13th century at the close of the Viking Age. The Midgard serpent snapped at the ox head, and the hook stuck fast in the roof of its mouth. It jerked away so hard that both Thor's fists knocked against the gunwale. Then Thor grew angry, and exerting all his divine strength, dug in his heels so hard that both legs went through the boat until he was digging his heels in on the sea bottom. He drew the serpent up on board, staring straight at it. The serpent glared back, belching poison. The giant Hymir turned pale with fear when he saw the serpent and the sea trembling in and out of the vessel too. At the very moment that Thor gripped his hammer and raised it aloft, the giant fumbled for his bait knife and cut Thor's line off at the gunwale. The serpent sank back into the sea. Thor flung his hammer after it, and people say that it struck his head off in the waves. But the truth is that the Midgard serpent is still alive and is lying in the ocean. Please stand as you're able and join us for Hymn 8, Mother Spirit, Father Spirit.
Father Spirit, Father Spirit, where are you? In the stars Spirit, Father, Spirit, take our hearts. Take our breath and let our voices sing our hearts. Take our hands and let us work to shape our hearts.
And now it is time for one of our most treasured rituals, the Rippling Bowl. We are a community, and as such, we wish to help hold one another aloft, to share each other's sorrows, and to celebrate one another's joys. The Rippling Bowl is a way that we externalize this deep desire inside of our hearts. We invite everyone here to please come and put a shell or a stone in the water to share whatever it is inside of their hearts that they want to give unto the community. And I will put a stone and a shell in to honor both the sorrows and the joys of all of those watching us virtually. Thank you.
Why do we run away? Take a lesson from the trees. Let's make our roots intertwine. So we can communicate. There's no need for words. Why can't we change our ways? Take a lesson from the sea. Come and go with the tide. So all living things can
That was beautiful, Aaron. Thank you. And now it's time for our covenant. This is the promise that we make to one another, that we chose for ourselves. We are not a place that celebrates or lives by dogma or creed. Instead, we live by our covenant. Please, it's in your thing. Please join me as you are able in following and reaffirming the words of our covenant. We are a people of faith and hope. Together we covenant to strive to become our better selves, to honor both the critical mind and the generous heart, to prove that diversity need not mean divisiveness, and to respond to systems of violence and oppression with the power of a love beyond belief. And now we come to what is some of our favorite part of the service. I'm one of those, guilty. And some people's least favorite part of the service. But hopefully everyone here takes it as an opportunity to feel seen and loved, whether that is through an embrace or a kind word, or whether that is through the respect of leaving you alone because your body language says, I don't want to be touched. Whatever it is, please, everyone, go and meet your community and speak to your community while always respecting their boundaries. Okay, if everyone can find their ways back to their seat, please. Okay. Come on. You can do it. I believe in you. Fantastic. Okay. So now is the time where we share our financial gifts with the community. There are many, many ways, many gifts, and many ways to share them. And for this community to be a thriving, growing community, we all must feed it in whatever ways that we can. And that includes sharing our gifts. Today, we share the plate with Angels Charge Ministry. which is a ministry that helps women who have been incarcerated once they are released. There's a lot of very important and necessary discussion about the discrimination within the prison system, especially for people of color. We don't talk as much about the discrimination with women. For example, statistically, women who kill their abusive partners are sentenced to more time in jail than abusers who end up killing their wife. There's a lot of discrimination, and the women in our community that have been a part of that deserve our support. So please, this will go to anything that is marked specifically for them, or half of any loose gifts. We're very grateful for all the ways that you share your gifts and your treasures with us.
There's a wideness in your mercy, like the wideness of the sea. There's a kindness in your justice, which is more than liberty. But we make your love too narrow by false limits of our own, and we magnify your strictness with a zeal you will not own. For the love of God is broader than the measures of our minds, and the heart of the eternal is most wonderfully kind.
Join me in silence. One of the most effective tools human beings have ever created is a hammer, preferably used on the head of a nail instead of on the head of another person. And when we think about snake bites and venom and the need to hurry to address poison entering into a person's system, the very anti-venom that we would apply is made from the venom of that snake. All this month, we have been telling stories about snakes. For some of us, just continuing our membership at this church through this month has been quite a heroic feat. And I think that we need to give a round of applause to everyone that has dealt with their fear by persisting through these things. I'm serious. We need to give people a round of applause. Each year, this church has an auction, and one of the items that is auctioned is the chance to choose a sermon topic. You can pay your money down and tell the preacher whatever to preach about. And in this congregation, often that expands from one Sunday to an entire month. A year ago, one of our members, Mary Underwood, purchased one of these sermons, and she asked that I preach about a topic that made me freeze. It struck terror in my heart. I said, Mary, I don't know that I can talk about that right now. And if you want to know what that topic is, I urge you to go and talk with Mary. She's been our worship associate today. She'll be very happy to talk with you about it. It's a topic that a lot of us think about all the time, and something that we definitely should talk about. In fact, we have 18 people from across the country dealing with this topic today in a workshop. But it's not what we needed to deal with in this service, I thought. So I said, Mary, yeah, thank you, Jay. I said, Mary, is there another topic? Please. And she said, well, there is this image that I just find fascinating. And given our biblical story from our Western culture about the serpent in the garden, it's really not that far off from the first topic. She said, there's this image of a snake holding its own tail in its mouth, this circular image. In Greek, it's called Ouroboros. It sounds so strange, but it is everywhere in our culture. We find it all over the place. Even in our symbol for infinity, our symbol for good medical care and intertwined serpents, all of these are variations on this strange ancient symbol of a snake forming a circular loop. Would you investigate this symbol with us? And so we've done that this month. Next week, we're going to have somebody who really knows what they're talking about come to talk with us. Dr. Melissa Pilgrim from USC Upstate is going to come and be our guest speaker. She is a herpetologist in the biology department, and she's going to come talk to us about the actual wisdom that snakes offer us, including, importantly, snakes as a key indicator for us of changes our world is experiencing through climate and environmental disruption. These are our fellow beings who offer us a great deal of wisdom. And throughout time and across cultures all around the world, our ancestors have wrestled with the image of serpents and snakes to try to gain that wisdom. One of the stories that has been told is of a snake that encircles the world and holds the world together. You find this image even in the Bible with the figure of Leviathan, and in rabbinic literature, references to a world serpent. In Mesoamerica, and as we talked about last week, in Australia, stories of a serpent whose body fills the ocean and holds the world in a kind of order when the chaos of waters could overflow, flood, and bring devastation. And if we think about what the ocean looks like, if we stand on the shore and look out across those great waters, we can imagine the body of a serpent just beyond our vision, just beyond what we can see, enfolding itself, holding the landmass together to sustain life. It's strange but present to us, this image. One of the major tellings of this story of the world serpent comes to us from Norse mythology. The story is of a child of the gods, one of the grandchildren of Odin, the Allfather, the god of all gods in Norse myth. One of Odin's children, or surrogate children, or nobody's quite sure what the lineages are, but someone related to this divine royal family, the trickster Loki, has children, and one of those children that's born is a serpent. And the Allfather, Odin, so disgusted that this child would be part of his family, ruthlessly picks up the serpent and hurls it from his sight, throws it beyond his reach, doesn't want to have anything to do with it, casts the serpent out of the divine realm, and the serpent comes to rest in the sea. This may seem like a completely bizarre story, even for people versed in the Marvel universe. But I bet every one of us knows of a family, and maybe our own, where a child born into it is cast out by a parent who has no vision for the life and divinity that that child brings into the world. The world serpent, Jormungandr, is cast into the ocean. And there in the depths of the ocean, isolated from family and from all other beings, grows and grows to fill the entire ocean bed and to encircle the earth, until it becomes this image that Mary has asked us to contemplate, the Ouroboros, the serpent that bites its own tail, that holds its tail in its mouth. This serpent, cast out of its home, rejected by its family, comes to bind the world together and hold it against the waters of chaos that would devastate the world. And then along comes its brother, or half-brother, or super annoying uncle, or whatever the movie star handsome, chiseled-jawed, blonde-haired, hammer-wielding god of thunder Thor may be. Whatever his relationship with this world serpent is, and we don't know, but their family, he comes looking for a fight. And why? Why does the god of thunder want to pick a fight with this lonely creature that, after all, is just holding the world together? The story that we read today is a very unnerving one. This handsome, striking, powerful, divine being comes to a friend, a giant, and says, "I'd like to go fishing." And this friend, suspecting something is up, says, "Well, I'll take you out in my boat, but I'm not going to give you any bait." So Thor takes his hammer and cuts off the head of the prize oxen in his friend's herd. Not a good beginning. Don't treat your friends this way. So he hauls this ox head into the boat, and they sail off. And his friend says, "This is where I usually fish." And Thor says, "Go further." And his friend rows out a little bit further. Thor says, "Go further." They go a little further. "Go further. I want the deep water." And he baits his hook with the ox head that he took from his friend's ox's shoulders and casts it into the depths of the ocean, looking for trouble, looking, hunting for that sibling, that family member that his own father cast out. And the snake takes the bait. And Thor, with all his strength, pulls it up. The fight between them is so ferocious that Thor's 2 legs go through the hull of the boat. And on runestones in Nordic countries where this is depicted, this story, the most depicted story in Norse iconography from the Viking era, so popular was it. There are actually pictures of this amazing god of thunder with both of his legs shooting through the hull of the boat. Some of you may have been in boats before. And if there's a hole in the boat, the boat won't float. What has Thor done to himself? In his ferocity and his rage, he has created a problem for himself and his friend, not to speak of the snake. They fight. They fight. And at the climax of the fight, the snake rears up like a huge fish jumping at the end of its line, breaks the water, and comes up to face his archenemy, his own kin. And Thor rears back to strike the serpent with his hammer. And the serpent spews poison on the god. The 2 of them ready for mutual destruction. And as we know, because our parents told us this story in the mead hall all through our childhood, while they tipped back their huge cups of whatever, and the fires burned all night, we know that when Thor kills the world serpent, when that moment happens, whenever it happens, the destruction of the world will begin, because the serpent will die, and the waters of chaos will flood our world, and the end of all things will happen. We know that if this moment of conflict achieves itself, and the serpent dies by the all-powerful hand of the god, we are all going to die too. And at the last moment, Thor's friend, because we all need a good friend, reaches out and cuts the line. And the serpent goes back into the sea. And I don't exactly know what Thor does. I guess he has to sort of wear the boat as a diaper and walk back to shore. And the rest of us get to live another day. Why the hell am I telling you this story? It seems so strange. But the serpent brings us back into harmony. And Thor leaves defeated, not completing the violent task that he set out to accomplish. And anytime we tell a story, it's worth just thinking about what changed from the beginning of the story to the end. Who is it in the story that experienced an alteration or a change? Because that might tell us something about what the story is about. We have here darkness and light, golden-haired God and serpent of the depths. But who is it in this darkness and light that is in service to the rest of us and striving with all its might to hold the world together? And who is it in this story who comes charging in full of ego and hubris and family violence, ready to have their way no matter what? Is it the serpent or the God who's the hero in this story? In that moment where the two face each other, that critical moment in the fight where the destruction of the world could commence, as our parents told us in the dark halls of our villages over thousands of years. In that moment, Thor has to face himself. We all have power. We all have tools that we can turn into weapons. Things that we are so good at least when we look in the mirror, we might see ourselves as divine. Can't speak for everybody else, but they should, because we're that good. And we have the ability to tell ourselves stories that we're so good at those things. We have a right to use them in whatever way we want. But when we tell ourselves those stories about us overall, über alles, when we tell ourselves stories that we should have our way no matter what anybody else says, we risk unleashing destruction, the extent of which we don't comprehend, which will include us. In the stories of Thor in Norse mythology, whenever that day comes and he decapitates the serpent, it dies. And the world will be destroyed. But the first person that will die is Thor himself, from the poison of the serpent that gets its revenge on him, as it also dies. Human beings have a tremendous ability to undermine ourselves. The silliness of Thor waddling home, straddling a boat, is a silly image, a comic image, to make us laugh and to put our egos in check. All of his heroism and all of his fighting, it got him nothing but shame and ridicule. And it could have drowned him. And it's true for us all. I bet every single family represented here has kicked somebody out in its history. I bet there's stories about Bruno in your family too. But we don't talk about Bruno. Right? It happens all the time. And families do it to preserve our name, to preserve our religion, to be the people of class or standing or success or whatever we think we are. All that ego welling up. And we think we've got a right to kick out the person who doesn't belong, to preserve ourselves. But what have we done as soon as we do it? We've given a lie to everything we say about ourselves. We're not loving. We're not kind. We're sure as hell not a family. We undermine ourselves when we assert over. Congregations too. Like one big dysfunctional family, every congregation I've ever known. This is who we are, all loving. This is what we do, all caring. You belong here too, except for you, or you, or you, and you better get out, because you're not towing the line. You don't belong. Cast you to the depths. Like hell. Gives a lie to the whole endeavor. And no wonder so many people want nothing to do with organized religion, Unitarian or Episcopalian or whatever, because it just seems like a bunch of poisonous hypocrisy. You say you love us until we're different. Or think about our world. We tell ourselves a story that as long as we own the deed to the property, we can do anything we want on it. As long as the shareholders are happy, our company can do whatever it needs to do to maintain and build that bottom line. But our rainforests show us that borders of deeds and annual reports and even the sovereignty of nations is insufficient to provide oxygen to the world. And if we don't learn to cooperate as a people, a human people across the face of the earth, all of that ego and drive and capital über alles will cause the seas to churn and the floodwaters to rise and there will be devastation across the land, and we will have undermined everything we thought we were building. This image of the serpent is an image of the world trying to hold together. It's a terrifying image and totally absurd. Who wants to contemplate a snake that holds its own tail in its mouth? But this is a powerful symbol of paradox, of opposites holding together. Thor needs the very thing that he wants to kill. He needs that serpent to hold the waters in check. And he probably has something to offer the world too, if he can just get over himself and do it in service instead of for conquest. And that's true for all of us. In our families that have kicked someone out, we need to look hard at that person and face whatever it is in ourselves that is afraid of the beauty that they give. Because they can save us if we'll just have the humility to learn. And in our congregations, when someone rears up with poison, they're trying to tell us something. And we need to listen. Because they need to keep their head. And we don't need to be covered in poison. And in this world, we need entrepreneurship and creativity and enterprise that considers the lives of all beings and not just shareholders, so that we can continue those enterprises and our progress as people for generations beyond ourselves, instead of unleashing the destruction of the earth on us now. None of this stuff is easy. It is the hardest work and why we all flee from it. While we love to cultivate our ego and come swinging our hammer to destroy the things we don't understand and hate, and pretend to bring order to our world and turn ourselves into gods, but it's a lie. The work of heroes is to see the world as one. A whole world of light and darkness. A world where the things called dark might be the light, and the things that say they're light might be dark. A world where we hold together paradox. Where we use our hammers to build and our poison to cure.
Please stand as you're willing and able and join me in singing hymn number 318 in your gray hymnal. Our hymn of love
And as we extinguish our chalice, we read this wisdom from Jung. The Ouroboros, the snake that eats its own tail, has been said to have a meaning of infinity or wholeness. The Ouroboros is a dramatic symbol for the integration and assimilation of the opposite, i.e., of the shadow. He symbolizes the one, who proceeds from the clash of opposites, and he therefore constitutes the secret of the prima materia.
A god and a monster face each other. Which is darkness and which is light? But I'll tell you who the hero is. It's the friend who gets the final nerve up to say, we have got to work together.
We have spent time together, and these whole